The CRTC wants to know how radio, TV, and digital platforms in Canada can best meet the needs of Indigenous viewers, listeners, and content creators. Join the conversation today at crtc.gc.ca/indigenous-broadcasting.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Le CRTC veut savoir comment la radio, la télévision et les plateformes numériques au Canada peuvent mieux répondre aux besoins des spectateurs, auditeurs et créateurs de contenu autochtones. Joignez-vous à la conversation aujourd'hui au crtc.gc.ca/radiodiffusion-union autochtone.
Un message du gouvernement du Canada.
I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Friday, May 17th. We begin once again with the trial of Jeremy Skibicki, a Manitoba man who admits he's killed 4 Indigenous women. Killings his lawyers claim he's not criminally responsible for due to mental illness. But the Crown says Skibicki knew what he was doing and that it was racially motivated. And on Thursday, they called his estranged wife to the stand. T.R. Wheatley reports a story with some disturbing details.
The estranged wife of Jeremy Skibicki, who APTN has decided not to name, told court on Thursday about having a rocky relationship with him from the beginning in 2018 until she left him in the spring of 2021, one that was filled with emotional, sexual, and physical abuse. The Métis woman told court that for most of the relationship, she was on sleeping medication for PTSD. She said Skibicki and her would fight about taking them. At one point, she said he told her, quote, he had a fetish for Sleeping Beauty syndrome. She said he would have sex with her lifeless body because he liked rag dolls. If she didn't take sleeping pills, he would penalize her by sodomizing her. She met him at the Salome Mission in Winnipeg on February 1st, 2018, she told court. Skibicki and 2 of his friends approached her, asking if she wanted to go back to his apartment. She said she was using crystal meth at the time and knew she wouldn't get a bed at the shelter, so she left with the men to Skibicki's. At the time, he was living somewhere else, not the apartment police searched in 2022. The estranged wife told court she remembers Skibicki telling his friends, I really like this one. She ended up staying with him for a few weeks. She told court she became pregnant from Skibicki, but it ended in a miscarriage. She said Skibicki kept her from leaving his place and took out all the phone lines. She recalled, quote, he would spit on me and laughed at me, and I sat there naked for a few days. She told court she tried to leave him and even found her own place, but he began coming there and causing ruckus to the point where she was evicted. She moved back with Skibicki but was allowed to come and go. On September 4th, 2018, she married him. She told the court she had nowhere else to go and she felt stuck. She testified that once they were married, he started getting even more controlling, telling her a wife has to listen to her husband no matter what. His emotional hold on her got worse. She even told court that he told her he put a chip in her body to track her. Around their first anniversary, she told court she was in treatment and filed for a protection order. Despite this, she testified the cycle of leaving and going back to him continued. Each time, the physical violence got worse. She told court at one point Skibicki pulled a knife on her. On another occasion, she said Skibicki was smothering her. When he stopped, she told him to keep going and that he would get caught anyway because police knew she was at his place. He continued to smother her but eventually stopped. Then in March 2021, she left to go to her mom's and didn't return. She said around that time she found out she was pregnant again. She testified that she told Skibicki on Facebook she was getting an abortion. She never heard from him again until the spring of 2022, communicating on Facebook from March 26 until May 17. On May 11th, they spent 2 hours together on a phone call that she initiated. She said, I had a terrible feeling about something Skibicki said to her 2 nights before. He mentioned having to do 3 life sentences, adding, please forgive me if I end up going to prison for life. Court heard that Skibicki didn't reveal anything else to her on that call, but she says she spent a lot of time praying for him. Defense also cross-examined her with questions focusing on Skibicki's state of mind. The trial continues with testimony from another woman who knew Skibicki. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
For further trial coverage, visit aptnnews.ca. And should portions of this report prove triggering, supports are available 24/7 at 1-844-413-6649. To the Northwest Territories, where family of a missing man say they need more support with their search. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs reports.
On this busy stretch of highway outside of Yellowknife, a camp forms. Family and friends desperate to find Ralph Bolio, a 54-year-old experienced Dene hunter and trapper who has been missing for over a week. He was dropped off at his cabin near Boundary Creek on April 23rd. His brother was scheduled to pick him up on May 8th, but when he arrived, Ralph was nowhere to be found. Cousins like Lorraine Villeneuve have been driving up from Fort Resolution and pulling long hours.
Trying to get the stuff organized here. I brought some radios and a little bit of stuff for, the crews that are out on the search and rescue, just to keep contact with us over here on this end, because I think it's like 45-minute walk to the cabin.
But the search has been facing some roadblocks. Members from the Canadian Rangers have been out, but are not permitted to coordinate as a group to search.
And they won't get the Canadian Rangers out until the RCMP release or ask them to ask for assistance.
Yellowknife's volunteer ground search and rescue team has been sending members out. Ralph's 2 rifles, shoes, eyeglasses, and a back support strap have been recovered.
All in the same sort of an area. So it is not like stuff was laying on the ground.
Yeah, he was moving or something like that.
Oh yeah, he was moving. Hopefully not very fast. So anyway, it kind of gives us a few clues about where we think we might be searching next, but we're still also cleaning up some areas we missed.
Search manager Tom Gergwire says they're going to begin using comprehensive maps to continue moving the search forward day by day.
Once you start the process of planning, it's just you continue moving your search forward day to day. And that's essentially what we'll be doing. So we're definitely here until the end of this week through to the long weekend.
Ralph's sister, Eva Bolio, says she's frustrated that RCMP haven't been out helping much until today. They were initially there when Ralph was reported missing, but she says the family has been left in the dark for much of the week.
We've complained, MLAs, chiefs, been out here, we've talked to them. On Tuesday, we had 6 rangers that couldn't use their uniform that came out to help do the search from Yellowknife area. We only seen the RCMP once on Saturday for a couple of minutes that talked to the people out here, but didn't even go into the woods.
RCMP Constable Ryan Price says the first search last week was like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Some items have been located, so it'll give us a more specific area to search instead of just a big, broad, general area out in the woods.
As the day goes on, more people gather, showing their support.
I just pray that we bring Ralph home to the family. So if you could light a candle and do a little prayer for Ralph and the family.
Charlotte Moore Jacobs, APTN National News, near Boundary Creek.
The Haida Reconciliation Act has officially become law in British Columbia. Known as the Rising Tide Haida Tidal Land Agreement, the legislation has been hailed as historic for its recognition of Haida Aboriginal title throughout their traditional territory, spanning over 200 islands off BC's northwest coast. Grand Chief Stuart Phillip heads the Union of BC Indian Chiefs.
I've always had faith in the Haida. Very, very strong people, very well organized. They've had incredible leadership over their history, and they were one of the first Indigenous groups that I know of that developed their own constitution. And that was a very, very volatile debate, but they did it. So all decisions now are made by the entire populace in a legislative setting.
And finally, a school's grad ceremony policy in northwestern New Mexico has been questioned after 2 staff took away an Indigenous student's beaded grad cap. A May 13th video shows a visibly upset Genesis White Bull when she was told to take off her grad cap in exchange for a plain one. Lovingly decorated, beaded, and prayed over by her family, the cap's tassel also had an eagle plume attached. Following the ceremony, the White Bull family said they'd found the cap in the lost and found bin, with the beadwork damaged and the string holding the plume cut. The family questioned why Genesis was singled out by staff when other students with modified caps weren't. And Farmington Municipal School told APTN News students were informed throughout the year that caps and gowns may not be altered. In a statement, the school said they will review their grad ceremony attire policy to allow for more cultural elements. Quote, while the staff involved were following district guidelines, we acknowledge this could have been handled differently and better. Moving forward, we will work to refine our processes at the school level, unquote. APTN News reached out to both Genesis White Bull and her mother Brenda, but did not hear back by airtime. And that's your APTN News Brief for Friday, May 17th. I'm Rick Harp.